Let me ask you something. You've got around $10,000 burning a hole in your pocket. You're scrolling through listings and you come across a 2015 Lexus RX350 with 120,000 miles on it. Clean exterior, leather interior, priced just under 10 grand. And your gut says, that's a deal. But then that little voice in the back of your head starts whispering, what am I walking into? What did the previous owner know that I don't? That little voice might just save you a lot of money, or it might be the thing that talks you out of one of the best used car purchases you could make right now. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which one it is.
Today, we are breaking down the 2015 Lexus RX350 at 120,000 miles. Real ownership costs, the common problems people run into, what it actually costs to keep one on the road, and whether this car belongs in your driveway or someone else's headache pile. Let's be honest about why the RX350 keeps showing up on people's radar. This thing has a reputation, not a flashy reputation, not a performance reputation, a reliability reputation. And in the used car world, that matters more than almost anything else. The 2015 RX350 rides on the third generation of this platform, which Toyota and Lexus had been refining since 2009. By 2015, most of the bugs were already worked out. You've got a 3.5-liter V6 making around 270 horsepower, paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission. Front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, depending on the trim. Comfortable seats, a decent infotainment system for the time, and that Lexus interior quality that genuinely holds up over the years. Here's what most buyers don't realize. A lot of these RX350s were lease returns or corporate vehicles. That means they were serviced on schedule, driven mostly highway miles, and returned at the 3-year mark. Then they changed hands once or twice before landing at 120,000 miles. That history matters a lot when you're evaluating what you're actually getting. But none of that means you should walk in blind, because at 120,000 miles, this car is entering a phase where some things are going to need attention, whether you like it or not. This is where things get expensive, or at least where people get surprised. Not because the RX350 is unreliable, it is not, but because deferred maintenance has a way of compounding, and at 120,000 miles, you are at a natural checkpoint where several big items converge. First, the transmission fluid. Lexus recommends changing this around 60,000 miles, sometimes stretched to 90,000. If the previous owner skipped it, you're looking at a transmission flush that runs anywhere from $150 to $300. Not expensive, but absolutely necessary. Dirty transmission fluid is one of the fastest ways to kill a perfectly good gearbox. Coolant flush, another one that gets ignored, budget around $100 to $150 for that. Brake fluid is typically every 2 to 3 years regardless of mileage, so depending on the last time that was done, you may be looking at another $80 to $120. Now, here's the bigger one. Spark plugs on the 2GR FE engine, that's the V6 in this car, are typically changed around 90,000 to 120,000 miles. Iridium plugs, and there are 6 of them. The parts are not crazy expensive, but labor on a V6 with a transversely mounted engine can run you between $300 and $600 depending on your shop, because 3 of those plugs are buried under the intake manifold. If I were spending my own money, I would pull the service records and figure out exactly what's been done. If you cannot get service records, budget an extra $1,500 to $2,000 as a maintenance reserve on top of whatever you're paying for the car. All right. Now let's talk about the things that actually go wrong, because no car is perfect, and the RX350 has its known issues. Some of them are minor, some of them you want to catch before you sign anything. The most talked about issue with this generation is oil consumption. The 2GR FE engine has been documented to consume oil between changes, sometimes more than most owners expect. We're not talking catastrophic consumption in most cases, but you could be adding a quart of oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles on a higher mileage example. The fix, if it gets bad, can range from simple to expensive. A ring job on this engine at an independent shop could run anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000. At a dealer, more. Before you buy, ask for an oil consumption test, or at minimum, pull the dipstick yourself and look at the color and level. If they just did an oil change and the level is already slightly low, that tells you something. Second issue, the air conditioning. The 2015 RX has some reported cases of condenser failures and refrigerant leaks, particularly in higher mileage vehicles in hot climates. An AC condenser replacement on this car runs roughly $600 to $1,200 parts and labor. Not catastrophic, but not nothing either. Third, suspension components. At 120,000 miles, you should expect that struts, sway bar end links, and possibly strut mounts are getting tired. A full strut replacement on all four corners at an independent shop is going to run you about $1,000 to $1,800 depending on where you are. If the car feels floaty on the highway or you hear clunking over bumps, that's your answer right there. Fourth, and this one's subtle, the infotainment system. The 2015 RX uses an older navigation system that is now essentially obsolete for map updates, and the DVD-based nav is slow by modern standards. This is not a mechanical problem, but if you're expecting a modern, connected experience, you may end up adding an aftermarket solution, which could run another $300 to $800 for a good install. Here's the thing though, none of these problems are deal breakers on their own. A well-maintained RX350 with documented service history and no oil consumption issues is still one of the best values in the used luxury SUV market. The key word there is well-maintained. What it actually costs to own this thing. Let's run the real numbers here, because this is what separates a good deal from a regret. Purchase price for a 2015 RX350 with around 120,000 miles right now is sitting in the $9,000 to $12,000 range, depending on condition, trim level, and your market. Premium trim or F-Sport packaging pushes that higher. Insurance is going to run you somewhere around $130 to $180 a month for a driver with a clean record in most American markets. Luxury classification means it's not the cheapest thing to insure, but it's also not a sports car. Expect to pay maybe $20 to $40 more per month than you would on a comparable Toyota Highlander. Fuel. The RX350 recommends premium fuel. Not requires in most cases, but recommends. You'll get away with regular, but you might notice a bit of engine knock under load. Real-world fuel economy on this car is going to land around 18 to 20 miles per gallon combined for most drivers. Not great, but for a luxury SUV with a V6 from 2015, it's par for the course. Routine maintenance annually. Oil changes, tire rotations, filters, figure around $600 to $900 a year if you're going to a quality independent shop. Dealer pricing for the same service is going to push that to $1,200 to $1,800. And then there's the wild card money. Set aside at least $1,000 to $1,500 a year as a repair reserve. Some years you'll use it, some years you won't. But when the water pump goes or a wheel bearing starts humming, you want to be ready. A water pump on this engine runs about $400 to $700 installed. A wheel bearing is usually $250 to $450 per corner. These are not if questions, they're when questions on a 120,000-mile vehicle. Total cost of ownership in year one, if you factor in purchase price plus initial maintenance catch-up plus insurance and fuel, budget realistically somewhere in the $15,000 to $18,000 range all in for the first year. That number sounds bigger than it is when you realize what a comparable new crossover would cost you over the same period. Comment below if you'd actually buy this at that price. I'm genuinely curious what you'd do.
Now, here's where I want to be straight with you, because this part matters more than anything else in the video. The 2015 Lexus RX350 is not the most exciting car you'll ever drive. It's not going to make you feel like a hero on a back road. But if you want a vehicle that, when properly maintained, is going to get you from point A to point B for another 80,000 to 100,000 miles without falling apart, this is legitimately one of the better options at this price point. Consumer Reports has consistently ranked this generation of the RX near the top of its class for reliability. Owner satisfaction scores are high, and if you look at the number of high-mileage RX350s rolling around out there, 180,000, 200,000, even 250,000 miles, it tells you something real about the engine and drivetrain. The engine in this car, the 2GR-FE, is one of Toyota's most proven platforms. It's been in multiple vehicles across multiple decades. Parts are everywhere. Independent mechanics know it cold. You are not dealing with some exotic, hard-to-source powertrain. The 6-speed automatic is also well-proven, though it does not like being neglected. Regular fluid changes are the difference between a transmission that lasts 250,000 miles and one that grenades at 150,000. The honest answer is this: if the car has been maintained, it's a gem. If it's been neglected, it's going to cost you. The car itself is not the variable, the service history is.
Let me tell you exactly who this car is perfect for. If you want a comfortable, refined daily driver that feels more premium than the price tag suggests, this is it. The interior on the 2015 RX still holds up. Soft touch materials, a quiet ride, decent tech for the era. You're gonna feel like you got a deal every time you get in it. If you have a mechanic you trust and you're willing to stay on top of maintenance, the RX rewards that. This is not a set-it-and-forget-it car at 120,000 miles, but no used car is, and the RX is more forgiving than most when you take care of it. If you drive mostly highways, even better. This car was built for comfort cruising. Long highway miles are actually easier on it than city stop and go. If your commute is 30 to 40 miles each way on an interstate, this car is almost tailor-made for that use case. And if you want a used luxury SUV that holds its value reasonably well, because Lexus depreciation curves are gentler than European competitors, you're going to have an easier time selling or trading this in 3 or 4 years than you would with a comparable BMW X5 or Mercedes GLE at the same mileage.
Here's the other side of that coin, and I want to be just as honest here. If you're buying this with $10,000 and absolutely nothing left over, walk away. Not because the car is bad, but because buying any 120,000-mile vehicle with zero financial cushion is a risk you shouldn't take. Cars at this mileage need things. The math only works if you have a buffer. If you want the latest technology, a large touchscreen, Apple CarPlay, wireless charging, modern driver assistance systems, this car does not have those things. It was built in 2015. You're going to be looking at a 7-inch screen with resistive touch that feels slow by 2026 standards. That's just the reality. If you need the third row, this car does not have one. It's a 5-seater. The cargo space is decent, but not class-leading. If you're hauling kids and gear regularly and need that extra row, you're shopping in the wrong aisle. And if the oil consumption issue shows up in your pre-purchase inspection and you're not prepared to monitor it and potentially address it down the road, pass on that specific example and keep looking. There are enough RX 350s out there that you don't have to settle for a questionable one. Would you risk it on a car with some oil consumption? Drop that in the comments. I want to know how you think about that trade-off.
If you're serious about pulling the trigger on one of these, here's exactly what I do. Get a pre-purchase inspection from an independent Toyota or Lexus specialist, not a general shop, someone who knows this platform. You want them looking specifically at oil consumption signs, any leaks around the valve covers or the rear main seal, the condition of the suspension, and the transmission fluid color and smell. Pull the Carfax, but don't stop there. A clean Carfax doesn't mean a perfectly maintained car. It means no reported accidents. Service records are what you really want. If the seller can't produce any documentation of maintenance, price that into your offer. Test drive it cold. Starting a car that's been sitting overnight tells you more than starting one that's already warmed up. Listen for any rattles on cold start, watch the temperature gauge, check for any smoke from the exhaust on startup. And check the tires. 4 new tires on an RX 350 run about $600 to $900 installed, depending on the brand. If they're worn or mismatched, that's a negotiating chip. If I was spending my own money on this car right now, I would be looking for a one-owner example with service records, under 130,000 miles, all-wheel drive, in a market where I can negotiate to around $9,500 to $10,500. That's the sweet spot. That's where this car becomes a genuinely smart buy.
So is the 2015 Lexus RX350 at 120,000 miles a money pit or a hidden gem? The answer is both, and it entirely depends on the specific car and how you approach it. A well-maintained example with service records, no oil consumption issues, and a clean pre-purchase inspection is genuinely one of the better values in the used luxury SUV market right now. The combination of proven reliability, Lexus interior quality, and a reasonable price point is hard to beat. A neglected example with no service history and signs of deferred maintenance is a completely different story. You are not buying reliability at that point. You are buying someone else's problem at a discount, and the discount probably isn't big enough. Do your homework, get the inspection, know what you're walking into, and if the car checks out, I think you're going to be happy with it for a long time. If this video helped you out, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content. And if you're thinking about picking one of these up, subscribe, because next week we're going deep on top 7 used luxury SUVs that are shockingly cheap to maintain. That's a video you don't want to miss.